1 week into the final phase, 2 members of each team are flown to the site in Washington, D.C. to see if reality matches their imaginations.
As we cross over the bridge on the shorelines, to your far right you see the Navy Yard, and then to your immediate right is the land that is being sold by the General Services Administration to the private sector. Here you see some of the transitional land uses. There's a concrete batch plant here on your right. And now we're on South Capitol Street proper with the Capitol building in our immediate foreground. I think we're right at the edge of the competition site area. This corridor essentially does function as an extension of the freeway system, and the big challenge that we've identified is transforming this corridor into an urban boulevard. We're now on M Street Southeast. Immediately on your right, you see one of the entrances to the Navy Yard station, the Metro. We are now in the competition site area. This building on the left was recently constructed, so it did not show up on the aerials that you received. But it represents basically the only investment that has occurred within the competition site area itself. Here's a twist in the competition that so far nobody has picked up on. And that is that this is also the location for some of the most popular nightclubs in the city. This black painted building is a nightclub called Nation. And according to Vibe magazine, it is the most popular nightclub on the East Coast.
It has a lot of potential on it, and but it needs a lot of work. And right now the street condition is really, really bad.
I do think the site is much better than I expected it to be. The distances between the Capitol and the river, we couldn't get it on the aerial views. So I think this gives us much better idea how far things are. Just to see people walking around, members of this affordable housing walking around, hanging on in front of their houses, that gives a sense of the identity of the place.
Certain things were not as severe as we thought. Like the highway was not as big as I thought it would be.
For our original plan, the phase 2, we already have our church preserve in the plan. So after visit the site, we are sure that we are going to have it here for sure. A lot of land are empty, or vacant, which is good because that means it kind of we don't have to do a lot of demolitions for the buildings.
Anytime you see nightclubs in your area, it's always a good sign.
When you see the aerial photograph, it looks like it's a completely blighted area, but once you see, like, for example, a deli that has people working inside and you were planning to just knock it down to put it in an apartment building.
That's going to be the test, is how do you take little pieces like the owners here and can you create incubator type programs so that they can actually be a part of the new sort of area that we're redeveloping. And same thing with like the clubs, is that it's a viable use. And if you want to make this a 24/7 type area, then you need to work with what's here.
And by seeing something, that we've been working on for paper for a month now, it becomes real, and you can get a sense of all the possibilities and see it all happen now.
It's just kind of fun to like stand here and say, oh well, this is where we're gonna have a beautiful park, and imagining that as opposed to a bunch of beat up taxi cabs. So.
Was there anything that surprised you that you've seen?
We thought there was a building here.
As the time moves forward, the pressure on the teams and each student mounts.
What I've learned is that you can come up with ideas that we think are progressive and new and maybe a little wacky, but we can sell them to people who are very experienced and who have done this work before and who might be able to see the value that we're creating. And it gives us energy for when we go out into the real world and try to work.
The other thing to mention is the fact that we should probably identify like 3 or 4 themes, whether that's like the neighborhood partnership, or these issues related to green or mixed use?
It's been incredibly difficult, no doubt. There's been lots of sleepless nights, but it's really been very rewarding. And just the process alone of working in a team with diverse interests and diverse backgrounds and coming up with one concept, one idea, one presentation that really captures all of these ideas.
I don't even know if I could count the number of hours that we've collectively put into it. We've really had the opportunity to explore some issues or take some issues further that we wouldn't necessarily be able to in class, especially putting together the different disciplines to try to come up with a result.
The thing that's best for me as an architect is seeing the larger process. Because I think typically academically you just kind of get the building, or you get the tectonics of it, or you get a piece of it, but you don't get the global sense of everything. And if you're not thinking about how it's going to affect, somebody 3 blocks away, I don't know how well you can do architecture in all honesty.
We need to make sure that we're clear that the developers on the board are not the developers developing sites, because otherwise they would be negotiating their own lease terms.
I don't think that the board is going to be negotiating lease terms. I mean, I think that's the job of the executive director and the office staff. The board is for oversight. And see, that's going to be the tricky thing. We all had different backgrounds before. We've all have been out in the field and worked in different areas, so we all brought a different perspective to the table.
It worked great in that sense that we all worked well. When it got heated, it got really heated. But when it was really fun, it was really fun. I mean, we were never in a point where we had to apologize to each other.
We've tried to widen the sidewalk on the north side of M Street to really capitalize on the sun angle, to make that area, which is going to be flush with sun, a really hospitable and commercial area which can be livened by pedestrian activity.
Many plans are not very feasible because they're just drawings. They don't have a way to make them real. And I think they've tried very hard to make them real and to understand the constraints of the development business, which developments usually have to work within, and to find ways of bending those rules to create something that's a lot better than the average development.
It was a key moment when we were at the American Planning Association's conference, and we mentioned to some of the people that we were in the final round of the ULI competition, and they were very positive and excited and interested and wanted to hear about our projects. So we shifted from being annoying students to being interesting, and they wanted to hear about our project, and it's been an amazingly effective vehicle for expressing ideas that we might have come up with in a class here, but this way they've been projected much further than they ever would have been.
It's definitely been a roller coaster. It's been emotionally difficult at times.
It hurts so good. I mean, it's been a lot of work, but it's been good work.
It's been a little intense right now. As we're speaking, I have a midterm review going on, which I'm not completely prepared for.
Every moment that I wasn't thinking about another class, I was thinking about this. I'm talking about coming out of the metro and just being faced with
I would keep it very, you merge out of the metro and you want to know immediately, or you know immediately that you're in somewhere different, because you have this, we've just had very talented people who are very sort of rich in their diverse experiences, and we are all studying absolutely different things here, but we've just been able to bring all those different elements together. And I mean, no doubt there's been sort of conflict, but it's been sort of good creative conflict that's just pushed our project to become even better.
I worked for an architecture firm in my professional experience, and I'm used to working in teams. The difference here is that everyone is a leader. And we found that on our team, everyone was a leader. So, to be a team leader in a group of leaders means absolutely nothing.
Sometimes the discussion has been very heated, but overall it's been a very good experience, and I've learned a lot. I mean, even things that seem so detailed that I had never thought about, like the parking in the building and the parking ratios and stuff that I had never thought of before.
Just walking through the master plan a little bit more specifically, we began with our iconic cultural facility. This is part of the National Monumental Master Plan for museums and something or other.
Sorry, do we begin with that?
Just because it was over here.
Yeah.
Almost from the start, we need to be very being strong and saying this is the components of the pieces. They are.
I mean, that's why I tried to sort of say these are the three concepts. These are the three inspirations.
And why
you're
are we...
selling it, Omar. You're the salesman.
I just want to
You're
get
the
the facts
opening
straight
act,
first.
okay?
Everyone has good ideas, so determining when your idea floats to the top and when you have to really step back and say, hey, we're all smart here, and I digress. I'll take that idea and put it in my pocket for a later time.
One thing that we've done throughout the process is not isolate each other, but continually having meetings, and we would have a conference room upstairs and just work stuff out there together until we could all agree on something.
A labor of love, I guess is how I would summarize it. It's just that we've put a lot of energy and time into it, and something's been born in fruition, and we're very proud of what we've put together. And so I think sort of the hard work has paid off, even up to now, not knowing how things turn out.